Yo, what up, man? What you know about 38 Special, man? Shout out to Rochester, Buffalo, the whole upstate New York. But were you guys aware that if you have an iPad that's out of warranty, meaning that you've had it for over a year, and you didn't purchase Apple Care, if anything happens to the iPad, it's basically a frisbee? Yeah, man, I had to find out the hard way. Just last week, my iPad stopped working, wouldn't turn on. I'm thinking it's probably dead. Charged it, still wouldn't turn on. I went to the Apple store yesterday, they checked it, couldn't turn it on, only to find out it's going to cost me $649 to have it replaced. Now this is an iPad that my wife paid over $1,000 for 2 Christmases ago. And there's nothing that they can do because apparently Apple doesn't fix iPads. If there's anything wrong with the iPad, whether it's something hardware related or whether the screen breaks, they don't fix it, they just replace it. So if you have an iPhone, they can fix it and then charge you the cost. But with an iPad, there's no such thing. If something is wrong with the iPad, they have to replace it. So if you don't have any warranty or if you don't have Apple Care, you shit out of luck, man. Never knew this, but I'm sure that some of y'all knew about that and nobody told me. Appreciate it, man. Intro.
You should come rolling my shit.
Yo, what up? My name is Vladimir Riché from chaseandrider.com. In this video, we're going to do something that we haven't done in a long time, which is a Q&A. I like to do those once a month because I do get a ton of questions, but it's been a very long time since we've done one. So this is way overdue. Let's get it. The first question comes from Abdullah. He has a couple questions, so let's get to the first one. And he said, what's your favorite suit and shoe currently in your collection? Favorite suit is my plain charcoal gray flannel from Spear & McKay. I've had it for a few years though. I haven't bought a new suit in a long time, but I'm planning on having a couple suits made this summer so that they can be ready for the fall. At the top of the list is a Prince of Wales suit. I mentioned that in last week's video. That's a suit that I've wanted for at least 10 years. Light gray Prince of Wales suit in a heavy flannel fabric. But somehow it just never happened. But I think this is the summer that we're finally going to make that happen. And when that does happen, this will be my favorite suit. As far as shoes, that one is a tough one. I have a thing for grain shoes now. Well, not just grain shoes. I've always liked grain shoes. I have, I think, 5 split-toe derbies in some kind of grain leather. But my new thing is grain Oxfords. I've never had a pair of grain Oxfords before until now. I have a couple of them, which we'll be talking about on the channel shortly. But one of them from this brand called Blazing Wonders is currently my favorite shoe. Although I haven't worn the shoes out yet, we still gotta make the video for them, but I'm really looking forward to wearing them. And if I had to pick a second one, it'd be my Yale style split-toe derby in a dark brown suede. Second question from Abdullah. He says, when planning an outfit, add jacket, trouser, should the jacket be lighter or darker than the trousers? That's a very good question. And I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer to this. I think it really depends. Depending on the jacket, that's what determines what trousers I'm going to wear. So if I'm wearing a dark navy jacket, then I'm going to pair it with something lighter at the bottom. But if I'm wearing, let's say, a light brown check sports coat, then I'll probably wear darker trousers at the bottom. I think more often than not, you'll find that the trousers are going to be a bit lighter because the most popular outfit that people wear casually is a navy jacket with medium gray trousers, but I don't think it has to be that way. The only thing I would say is to stay away from navy trousers whenever you're doing the out trousers and sports coat look. Something about navy trousers look like they belong on a suit. Navy is a very serious color, especially if it's like a worsted wool fabric. Certain fabrics just say suit as opposed to out trousers. So a more casual fabric can probably work, but it still doesn't look quite right to my eyes. Maybe something with the color navy that just looks very serious and heavy that to me, they don't really work that well as trousers. I think that charcoal could work, dark brown could work. It's just navy to me, that doesn't really work. Next question. This question comes from Jamie and he wants to know, what are some good summer casual outfits? Still stylish, not streetwear. I think in the summer, even though it's really hot, you can still get away with wearing out trousers with sport coats. But the material is really what you have to pay attention to. So you want something that's very breathable. That way the air can still flow through it. So something like knapsack, like when you hold it up, you can actually see through it. I don't think that just because it's hot, it's time to really dress down all the time. You can still look very stylish even in the hot weather. So I'm not saying to be in a 3-piece suit, but there are still suits and jacket materials that you could wear where you can still be pretty comfortable. If you don't feel like wearing a jacket, you can do something like what I'm doing right now, which is a swallow neck polo from Yale Style. It's long sleeves, you can roll the sleeves up. Those are very comfortable. You can wear them all year round, but I like to wear them mostly in the spring and summer. You really have to pay extra attention to the fabrics. You want to be looking at hapsack, cotton, linen, fresco. That way you can still be comfortable even in the summer heat. The next question comes from Otis, and he goes, what got you into classic menswear? Short answer, I have to give the credit to Styleform. Styleform, as the name suggests, is a forum where guys post their outfits and people can rank them, ask questions, and you learn about new brands on there and all sorts of things. But one thing that I realized pretty early was the guys that used to get a lot of love on their suits, my suits didn't fit me anything like theirs. That's when I started to realize that something wasn't right. And also there's a blog called Put This On. They also made me realize that's something I have to change. Second question from Otis. He said, who do you look up to in classic menswear? I don't know if I really look up to anyone, to be honest with you. My dad was really sharp when I was growing up, but I wasn't into classic menswear at the time. So I definitely see that I'm influenced by him, but it's not something that him and I never really discussed. By the time I started getting into classic menswear, my dad wasn't here anymore. So actually, if there's one guy, it would have to be Jason Jules from the UK. He's the author of a book called Black Ivy, and he also does a lot of modeling for Drake's, which is how I discovered him. He definitely gives me something to look forward to. He's older than I am, so when I get to be his age, I don't know exactly how old he is. Not to say he's really, really old, but I look forward to, you know, when I'm a little bit older to still be super stylish. So Jason Jules would be the person that I would pick. Next question comes from Gustavo, and he goes, you're not into double-breasted suits? What do you mean, bro? I've been rocking double-breasted suits since I was 4 years old. Back then they used to call me young double-breasted. But now, all jokes aside, man, I'm not really a big double-breasted guy, although I don't think that there's anything wrong with them. So currently I don't own one. I think part of it is because of my whole thing with not wanting to bring too much attention to myself. A double-breasted suit definitely stands out because 99% of guys, such as myself, only wear single-breasted suits. With that said, I'm looking to change that this fall. So yes, I am looking to get into double-breasted suits. So I'm anticipating getting at least one, possibly two. We'll see how things go, and would love to premiere that here on the channel. Second question from Gustavo, which is a really good question. He said, does the shoe last depends on the foot shape, or how do you choose the shoe last? The shoe last does not depend on the foot shape. The shoe width depends on the foot shape. So if you have really wide feet, you want to make sure you're getting a wide size. But to compare apples to apples, a lot of times a maker would have a round last and a square last, but they fit exactly the same. The only thing that changes is the appearance of the shoe, because one of them is round, one of them is more of a soft square, but there's no difference as far as the fit. In a well-fitting shoe, your foot ends way before the actual shoe, if that makes sense. Personally, I prefer an almond shape last, but it also depends on the style of the shoe. Like an Adelaide, for example, to me looks much better in a soft square last than it does on a round last. But yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with the shape of your foot. It's a matter of preference and then the style of the shoe. And the third question from Gustavo is, what's a good place to buy good dress shirts from? Personally, the majority of my shirts are from Spear & McKay. I also have a couple button-down shirts from Vekla, which I've unboxed a couple months ago. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link it somewhere up here. I'll also include it in the description. I love Spear & McKay because number one, the prices are really good. Number two, the quality is really good. All the dress shirts that I wear from them now are all custom made. I think their custom made program is great. But there are also companies like Kamakura Shirts that make really nice shirts. Proper Cloth make really nice shirts. Luxshire, that's another company that make really nice shirts. Another company that I haven't tried but I've heard nothing but good things about is a company called 100 Hands. A friend of mine whose taste I respect swear by their shirts. With shirts, I think that a lot of companies make really good shirts. Just want to make sure that the collar points are long enough to fit nicely under your jacket's lapel. Personally, I recommend somewhere around 3.5 to 4 inches for your collar points. So this is what you should be looking at. Just depends on what you're looking to spend. Do you want them off the rack? Do you want something custom made? But yeah, shirts, I think that you'll find a lot of companies that make really nice shirts. Next question comes from Dapper Bento. We never see you wearing a tie when not wearing a suit. What's your thoughts on that? You're 100% correct. If I'm not wearing a suit, I never really wear a tie. When I'm wearing a sport coat, I just don't feel like wearing a tie. If I want to wear a tie, then I wear a suit. That's just me, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Next question. This one comes from Andrew, and he says, how would you change your best shoes under $300, your $300 to $500, and your over $500 videos? Now that you've seen more brands, if you had to redo them now. That's an excellent question. The thing with shoes, actually it's not just shoes, it's clothing, period. It's a moving target. A brand that's here today doesn't mean that this brand is going to be here tomorrow. I think that I did a really good job with the shoe that I listed at the time, considering what was available. If I had to redo them now, of course things would change because A, some of these brands are not even around anymore, and B, there has been new brands that came out since then. Those videos are about 4 years old. So now those brands will still remain on those lists. But this is something that's never going to be etched in stone. It's always going to be a fluid list. So I am looking forward to remaking those videos with the new information that we have now. Hope that I was able to answer that question. Well, I missed this one, but Andrew actually has a second question. What's your thoughts on TRB versus Urine? Now that you have both, considering Urine is right around the $500 price point. Well, to answer your question, I think that they are pretty close. But if I had to pick one right now, I'd have to give it to Urine for a few reasons. Number one, Urine Shoemaker is hand welted and hand blasted versus TRB is a Goodyear welted shoe. Doesn't mean automatically that the hand welted shoe is going to be better than the Goodyear welted shoe, but it does mean that there's a lot more hand work that goes into the shoe. And sometimes that can also help with how comfortable the shoe is. Number two, I think that Urine also has them beat in the last category. They have a lot more lasts to choose from versus TRB only really have 3 lasts to choose from when you're talking about Oxfords. So I do think that they need to expand their last selection a little bit. Something like 5 or 6 would be ideal. You don't need to have 10 lasts to choose from. That just confuses everybody, but I think you do need more than 3. Number 3, I think that Urine has better options as far as the style that they offer. Not only can you pick from what's on the website, you can pick from all their social media. So if they're posting something on Facebook or Instagram, you can pick from that even though it's not on the website, and you can customize it. You can say, I want this style, but I want it in a different last, different color, different leather, what have you. But with TRB and most shoe brands, you can't do that. You have to go by what's on their website. I'd have to give the edge to Urine Shoemaker. The next question comes from Manny, and he goes, what's the most versatile color for leather tassel loafers? Any recommended brands? You guys know how I feel about a dark brown suede tassel loafer. But for leather, I would have to say something like Ox Blood would probably be my pick. Ox Blood is such a crazy color because it changes depending on the light. So if you're outside, you'll definitely see that it has some burgundy hints to it. But if you're inside, it just looks like it's a dark brown shoe. Dark brown and burgundy are 2 colors to me that are extremely versatile. So they look like if they had a baby, it would be Ox Blood. As far as brands, I don't really know if any brand has an Ox Blood color off the rack. So I know that TRB makes a really nice loafer. Enzo Bonafé have some really nice loafers. Real Sal make really nice loafers. Act 10th make a really nice loafer. I'd have to say it depends on the last because loafers are tricky, at least for me, when it comes to fit. I have flat feet. Not having the support of an Oxford means that the fit has to be perfect. So I would say to go with the shoe that fits you best as far as the last, and then get a loafer made from them if they have a custom program. All the ones that I named do have custom programs where you can get a tassel loafer made. But I'd say first, it really depends on the last and the fit of the last. And then from there, you can pick on which maker you want to make the shoes, because I don't think that, at least off the top of my head, I can't think of a brand that makes an Ox Blood tassel loafer ready to wear. The next question comes from Zev, and he goes, would you ever wear a fedora? I think so. I don't have anything against hats. I think a lot of time because I wear beanies, people think that I have something against formal hats. I really don't. I love beanies and I wear them for a reason. I've spoken about it before. I'm not really gonna get into it right now, but if you go to my Instagram, if you're not following me on there, you're definitely missing out. Username is chase.rider. I'll include it right here. I do have a post that's pinned where I explain my reason for wearing beanies. But I do think that hats look very stylish, and I'm sure that I would rock them really, really well. But just that right now, it's not really something that I'm looking to get into. But I think eventually I can see myself wearing those hats. The next question comes from Southern Gentleman, and he goes, what's the lace pattern for dress shoes? It's funny because a couple weeks ago I'm scrolling on Instagram and I see an ad pop up from a shoe brand, and his shoes are laced using the bar system, but there was no knots. He was like he was wearing Air Force Ones. So I did repost that on my Instagram with the caption, you know somebody can't dress when they lace their shoes like this. I think that confused a lot of people. They were thinking I was talking about the bar lacing, but I was talking about how the shoe had no knots. Like there was no bunny ears, no nothing. You know what I mean? I was like, what the hell is this? But with that said, ball lacing is the only way to lace your dress shoes. But one thing that I've always noticed, every time that I get new shoes, they are never laced the right way. So I'm going to use these shoes here as an example. These shoes I haven't unboxed yet on the channel, so I'm pretty sure that they are not laced the right way. And this is what I mean by them not being laced the right way. So if you look, you can see how the lace is crisscrossed right above the tongue. I'm not a fan of that. I don't like it when you can see the lace underneath. For most Oxfords, you're probably not even really going to see it, especially if there's no space between the V. But you really see it on derbies and those type of shoes. And to me, that's really unsightly. So whenever I get new shoes, I always have to relace them. I've never gotten a pair of shoes where it was laced the proper way, at least to me. Let me unlace those real quick and show you how I lace my shoes. Okay, so first thing first, you want to make sure that the laces are even. So as you can see, they're not quite even. They're almost even, but let me just make sure that they are even. Okay, all right, so should be fine right here. All right, so laces are even. All right, I'm gonna do this quick, so I'll be fast forwarding this, but I'll show you exactly how I do it. I'm going to start with the one on the left. So you want to put it in the first available hole, which is the second hole on the left. And then you go across, and of course you're going to put it in the same exact hole on the other side. Just make sure that it stays flat. Now this is where it gets interesting. So now what you want to do is to alternate to the one that was already on the right, not the one that you just crossed over to the right. You go to the third set of holes and cross it over. And once again, you want to make sure that it lays flat. And like I was saying before, you alternate every time. So now you go back to the one that's on the right and you go up to the fourth hole. Cross it over. Make sure that it's flat. And like I said, you always alternate. So now you go to the one that was already on the left. You go up to the fifth hole. Cross it over to the right. And this is it, man, you're done. And as you see, they are even. So you don't have to do anything crazy, like one end has to be longer than the other to start. Now the good thing about this is, number one, when you go like this to loosen up the shoe, this pulls this side, and you go to the second one, that pulls the other side. Because sometimes also when I get my shoes delivered, when I pull the first one to loosen the shoe and I pull the second one thinking it's gonna pull the other end of the string, when it actually does, it pulls the same exact one again, which is very annoying. So all of them is really just pulling one side, which doesn't really make sense. But more importantly, if you look in the middle now, there's nothing underneath. It's a clean look. You don't have the lace crisscross on top of the tongue. So this is the way that I lace my shoes. It's a very easy way to do it. You know what I mean? Just gotta make sure that it's even when you're starting out. And as far as the knot, you just tie your knot as you would regularly. You know what I mean? Pretty known to it, man. So I hope that was able to answer your question. As you can see, this is the ball lacing system. And this is the way that I lace my shoes. Next question. And the last question comes from Mehdi. That's my guy. We go way back. I think he was following me before I even had 100 subscribers on YouTube. So shout out to him. The question is, where do you think menswear is heading? Do you see a resurgence in your day-to-day life? Or is streetwear still gaining space? Us guys that are really into classic menswear, I feel like we're still really into classic menswear, so nothing really changed on that front. But for those guys that never really like to wear suits, it's a million times worse now. Menswear was already on a downslope, and then the pandemic hit, and now it's even worse. A lot of people don't even go to the office anymore, so why even dress up? With that said, it's not a bad thing. When I go out and I'm dressed up, that makes me different right off the bat, without even trying to be different. Everything is cyclical, so eventually I'm sure that it will come back, but I don't really see it right now as we speak making a comeback. So that was my first Q&A video of 2023. Follow me on Instagram because this is where I usually collect those questions. Wrist check, today I'm wearing my 1976 King Quartz, which I've unboxed a couple weeks ago. If you didn't see that video, I'll link it somewhere up here. I'll also include it in the description. I haven't really been wearing it because I really don't like this strap that's on there, but the new strap will be arriving this week, so I might be doing the unboxing for that. If you didn't know, I do have my own Chase and Router straps coming out soon, so be on the lookout for that. Hit the thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe, or everybody gonna think that you a hater. And I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.